Hey guys, and welcome back to Pardon Our Honesty. I'm Tiffany,
I'm Megan.
and we are your hosts for this fabulous podcast where we discuss a topic openly and honestly that sometimes is considered taboo. And today, we have no idea what it's about.
It's really hard to choose a topic, right? Because, you can choose, like we were just talking about,
Yeah.
we have a local thing going on where we live where the Salvation Army has lost funding
Yeah.
and had to kick out 26 people and, talking about that. And then we jumped into funerals and, we call it a wake and you call it what is it?
Setting up.
Setting up. And what's relevant to talk about and what's not, so just talk, I guess, and see and then before that we said, what do you do if you just don't feel like doing anything?
Do it anyway. Do it anyway.
I had somebody close to me today say, I didn't want to say anything to you because I feel like you're going to go down a rabbit hole, but I just really don't feel like doing anything lately and I don't feel like myself. So it took everything in me not to be like, what's wrong? What are you thinking about? What? Da, 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 da. I just said, is there anything I can do to help?
That is really fascinating because I think a lot of us, especially women, get into this whole I have to be superwoman all the time. I have to be on top of the kids and my job and my sports and my health. And we don't get a day to just be.
Well, and I think to counter it a little bit too, I think sometimes for certain men, they're so manly and so all about, I got to be the man, that if they were to say that they didn't feel well, that it would be like a weakness.
Absolutely. That's how society views it. I saw this, I was on social media, y'all, and I love social media. No, I don't. Anyway, I saw this post that was basically saying when a woman says, I'm not okay, it's not for us to judge them or tell them what they need to do. It's our opportunity to just come alongside, whether it's a mom or not, and say, okay, what can I do for you? Can I watch the baby for you? Can I bring you a meal? Can I just listen to you and validate what you're saying instead of you need to do this and be the solution?
I'm so guilty of that. Like today, a friend called me this morning and she's like going down this rabbit hole. And of course, in my brain, when people go down rabbit holes, I don't want them to get lost in it. Right. So in my brain, I'm like glass half full. So I'm like, well, it could have been this and it could. And then she was basically like, when I'm in the ruins, I don't want people giving me advice. I said, police, I'll stop. But in my brain, it's like, I can't handle hearing the negative, the down with I don't want you to fall into this deep, dark place when there are positives or things that could, or circumstances that could have changed or things of that nature. So
do you think as they're talking,
they don't want to hear that?
Well, they don't want to hear it.
Because I don't want to hear it.
But maybe as they're talking and sharing, maybe they will, in their mind, come up to that same solution if we just give them the opportunity to vent everything that they're dealing with all the way out and be pissed off for that moment. And then they come to realize, okay, I got it all out, but I do realize it's not that bad. I can do this or this or this.
Right.
And okay, I got it all out. Let me get on my day and start doing the things I need to do. And that's over.
I agree. And I think it's like that whole, when I was driving there today, I only listened to K-Love, whatever, my little Christian channel. And they were saying how that they had a challenge for when somebody spoke, you did not respond. You only gave facial gestures, continue, but don't say anything. And those people would start to talk more and open up more. And if you would step back and let people just talk more, most of the time they're going to come to their own conclusions. You're going to learn more about them. Where if I'm used to a certain relationship with you, I'm going to say something knowing you're going to cut me off or not cut me off, but you're going to have an input right at that moment. Where when you just step back and let them talk. And so I'm like, I got to practice that. Well, I haven't, but I need to practice that because when she was on the phone this morning and I'm trying to counter every negative thought she said, how much more can I take? And I'm like, no, that's, you're just one step closer to this. Or I'm trying to be, and I understand you don't want to hear that. But on the other hand, it's really hard to let people go down the negative, down on myself. You don't want them to get so far down,
So I think I do that to you because if you say something negative, I'm immediately stop that. Don't say that.
And I do it to you.
You're gorgeous. You're beautiful. You're amazing.
The reason why she's saying that, because every freaking podcast, I look like death. I don't know what it is. I swear. I watched the video and I looked holy, like you just pulled me off from somewhere sleeping and I showed up like, so now I'm like thinking about my posture, my chin up, my hair. I didn't put makeup on. It's probably, I need to probably do eyes or something to make it look, but anyway, you're right. So you'll counter what I'm saying because you don't want to hear me saying negative things about myself.
I don't believe that about you.
Well, you don't, but I look at the video and go, what the hell? Every time you post it, I'm like, God, do I really look like that in real life?
No, you don't. You look.
But see, I don't want to hear that because I don't see it that way. You know what I'm saying? So I can see when people say,
Yeah.
You don't have to say anything, just be quiet and listen. Then that's a hard.
That is really hard because even now I've been saying, don't say that. I see you differently, but how does that look in real life that, okay, you're saying something that I don't believe about you and me not say something bad to make you feel better?
Well, right. So if you say something negative about yourself, let's say, and I don't say, or you're just going having a bad day and you're going down this rabbit hole and I don't say anything to you and I just listen. I feel like, how do I know you don't feel alone then? Like, gosh, Megan didn't say anything. Megan didn't try to pick me up. Megan didn't confirm my thing. Megan just sat there. She must have been busy. Or, you know what I mean? So what's the boundary of like,
I don't know how you do that. Because if I just listen, that's going to bother me too.
Right. Because you want to be that person that's like reassuring. Okay. So now another thing I just thought of, and we don't have to talk about it because we didn't prepare for this. It just came in my head. So if you say no, we can say no. Do you, and this is going to be controversial, I think, do you have insight, opinions, thoughts on this whole high school kid being stabbed?
What you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Not at all?
Not at all.
Okay. I'm only going to tell what I know. So there's probably details I don't know, but okay. So they're at a high school, and I'm not saying it from one opinion or another. I'm telling you what I know. I haven't deep dived into the whole thing or whatever.
Okay.
So they're at a high school track meet.
Okay.
High school track meet.
Okay.
On the field track meet, not in the parking lot, not in a closed building, out in, think high school kids, coaches, parents at a high school track meet.
Okay.
Okay. You got the image. There's teams. Okay. They have their own tents.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So this team is over here in their tent. There's a kid from another team comes and sits by their tent.
Okay.
Okay. This team has a kid, kind of mouthy, and says, you were in the wrong place. Get out of our area.
Okay.
Talking shit. Kid sits down or something. The kid that wasn't supposed to be at that tent sits down or something. And this kid in the tent keeps running his mouth. The team that's here keeps running his mouth, running his mouth, running his mouth. Picture 17-year-old boy running their mouth.
Okay.
And you're all hyped up, track meet, they all got there. Okay. So he says, I don't know what he says. Let's say he says something like, go back to where you're supposed to be or get the hell out of here. You're not belonging or whatever. Kid over here says, bet, basically, touch me and see what happens.
Oh.
Kid puts his hands on him.
Oh.
Pushes him, does whatever. I'm not 100% sure. Kid pulls out a knife, stabs him in the chest and kills him.
Oh, wow.
So just with that information, okay, and I'll go into a little bit more detail, but I'm just going to give you that scenario. With that detail, so kid did run his mouth, kid did put his hands on him, kid in defense took out a knife, stabbed him, whatever. In that scenario, do you think that action is justified, even if the kid in the tent was talking shit, bullying, whatever?
Oh, absolutely not.
How do you think it should have played out in your brain? If you're thinking about 17 boys on a track field, how do you think it should have turned out?
Where was the damn coach?
Okay.
No.
Okay, but let's just say they're
the argument.
Right. Okay, so maybe they don't hear the argument, right? Because you're sitting back there and I'm just like, yo, a-hole, get out of my tent. Or, I'm just talking, running my mouth. And you say, bet, try it. And I come after you, I push you, touch you, whatever I did. You pull a knife and you kill me. In my brain, this is how I think it should have played out. I run my mouth, I touch you, you get up and you fucking punch me in the face.
Yeah.
And we brawl, and then somebody breaks us up. We both get kicked out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as you know, there's probably a race fan.
What does race have to do with this?
Thank you.
This is something that should absolutely not have happened.
Loss
of life because I'm sitting at the wrong damn tent. Maybe I didn't realize I'm sitting at the wrong tent.
Well,
maybe I had a friend on your team.
But that's not the guy who got killed. The guy that got killed is the guy who was running his mouth.
Yeah, that was
It
at
with
the
his
right team,
right
at the
tent.
right tent.
Yeah. Yeah. And he
And this
told this other
kid
kid to,
that's
and this
like,
was his school, so he knew where he was. He knew he was at the wrong tent. Didn't matter. Fucking wrong tent, you're messing with people. I don't think it matters. But I don't, first off, I guess my questions are, why do you bring a knife to a
you're
track?
not supposed to have a weapon at school, so you're wrong anyway.
And then second, how did we get to that level? And now they're like the storylines, all of that it was self-defense. And, those kids were probably guilty for running their mouth, and he was guilty for putting his hands on him. But at what point in our society has it gone to, let's just shoot or stab somebody instead of fighting or having it out or walking and then why does it become about race?
Because we make it about.
But why? Like, if I looked at, even if the roles were reversed, I'd still think it's an effed up situation. Like, I'm thinking watching my kids at their soccer game, and London runs his mouth all the time as a goalie, just runs his mouth. And I'm thinking, so if he's doing that in a game, running his mouth and making somebody upset, is it justified for a kid to grab a knife out of his cleats and go stab him?
No,
so now we're like,
right.
dude, you can't run your mouth. Like, you need to take it down a notch.
That's crazy.
And people were like, we're waiting for more info and stuff. And I'm like, okay, I understand there might be more that we don't know, but I don't know how much could be known that justifies being stabbed in the chest. He died. And there's a competition of who can get more money raised. He's got $500,000 raised. His defense, that it's self-defense. The other kid, I think, has $300,000. It has totally flipped the narrative that kid is to blame. And I'm not saying that kid's not to blame. I mean, he probably evoked something by running. I mean, I know how mad I get when I used to play sports and people ran their mouth and adrenaline's, oh, shoot. Yeah, I can totally. He should have shut up.
We're just going to shove each other, push each other. Fight breaks out. Okay, teams come in and we punch each other, but killing somebody? You're asking for trouble by even having a knife on you. What were you planning to do? Was this something else that you planned to do? Were you there intentionally to start a fight so that you could stab somebody? That's what it makes me think about. And I absolutely have no clue about this whole story because I haven't watched the news all week. I don't even know why, but
I don't watch the news, but it was on my Facebook. And it's a lot of people. I talked to somebody that came and visited us last week at the office, and she was like, well, I want to wait till more details come out. And I agree. I'm like, I'm not going to jump down one side or another, but just in general, just take everything else aside. At a track meet, why would I feel that I need a knife to defend myself at a high school track meet? That's where I'm struggling, because it's maybe that kid did talk shit. Okay, yeah, I'm sure he did. And I'm sure he put his hands on him, which was not okay. Not saying that's okay at all. I would tell my kids the same thing, put your hands on people, just whatever, unless it's self-defense. Yeah. And then that guy should have beat his ass if that was the case. I don't know. Like I said, I don't deep dive into it anymore because my brain will go freaking nuts and I get upset. But it's so with that subject alone, I guess I'll say this. How have we gotten to a society where it seems like even locally, remember at the event center, they were having planned fights at the mall and people were fighting and whatever. And then 3 weeks ago, that guy got shot in his car at whatever.
Restaurant.
Doesn't it not feel like everything is so much more violent? Or do we just have more exposure to it because everybody posts videos and photos? And
I think it's more exposure to all of the crazy, and everybody's drawn to the negative and to the thing that's going to incite views and discussion and just crazy. But I also feel like, where are we as the parents and adults in the society choosing to do things differently? That kid had a knife on him. Maybe it wasn't to be at the school to be ready to start a fight. I beg to differ, but maybe he carries it for another reason. So what in his life is making him feel like, in order to protect myself, I need to have this knife with me all the time? And then why aren't we able to have open discussions and agree to disagree, or agree that, okay, yeah, I'm in the wrong place, but hey, dude, I'm just sitting here to watch a better view of the game, or I came over here to get a better angle of my friend is getting ready to. Why can't we just have communication? And I don't know, with the devices and everything we do on social media, if we even teach that or show that, okay, we can talk. We don't have to just get into a brawl immediately and, oh, I got to defend my life, because this is not that serious. This incident, I don't even know the races or anything, it alters your whole life. Right. You can end up in jail for something stupid.
Right. And somebody has died. For what? Yeah.
For what?
But that's just like, remember, was it last month, the DoorDash guy and the McDonald's worker that had a conflict and came back and shot him?
Yep. I
mean, it's like, was it that serious?
No,
that I should take a gun and shoot you?
I think people are just so angry at life, maybe their own life, maybe where they are as far as society, or they feel like everybody is against them. I can't get ahead in life, that, okay, I just have this rage on the inside of me that if you piss me off, you're going to get all of it. And that is one thing that scares me to death, because I know for me, I haven't dealt with all of the pain that I've had in my life. And so one time when it just got to the breaking point, I did do something really crazy that I could have went to jail for. That lesson taught me, Tiffany, you got to deal with your shit, and you can never let your emotion get that out of control to where you almost hurt somebody. But it took that earth-shattering event to be like, okay, girl, you better get your shit together, because you're going to end up in jail if you don't. So I don't know how to tell people, and I have somebody in my life right now that I worry about every single day, that he's going to get so angry once, and he does carry a weapon with him everywhere he goes for the most part, that he's going to be one of those people that either gets hurt or hurt somebody else and end up in jail for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Do you think in those moments where that happens, like, these shootings and this whatever, that either people don't like you said, it just comes out of nowhere, so they don't even realize what they're doing when they do it? Or do you also think that some of those people possibly think there won't be any consequences? Because I also feel like, and this could be whatever, I feel like consequences have gotten less and less within parental guidance. So do you think that some of those people go out and think, hey, nothing's going to happen, and they have this warped thing that they could get away with this stuff? And I don't know, like, if
I don't know.
I mean, I did the crime stats for around my house for a client looking to buy an area, and where I live. And it had 11 offenses in 7 days.
But what were those offenses? Were
Personal property. It's a personal property, social, and then bodily harm. And there was I was like 7, 3, and 1. I didn't know what the social one meant, but I was kind of she was like, oh, is that for the last year? I was like, that was the last 7 days. And I said, I live near there, so I would just probably say, let's just, but it just made me think, like, it's probably always like that. But is it getting like more where people feel they could just go break in doors or break in cars? Or is it out of desperation? Is it out of, what is it? Or do we just know more about it because you have the Ring doorbell and everybody's posting the videos and people post it online and everybody's just sharing everything?
This is just breaking my polo heart. I can't even imagine at 17 that I'm trying to kill somebody.
See, and I don't think the kid tried to kill him. I think he reacted in my brain. This is all I can think of.
Take that damn knife out of your pocket, unfold it, and say, this is the path I'm going to go down. I don't care what the consequences are going to be.
But do you also think, though, let's just think, okay, adrenaline. I think, adrenaline's flowing. You're angry. I've gotten crazily angry. You look at people at their worst, right? They have their adrenaline. They're angry. Do you pull something out to threaten? And then maybe, I don't know, maybe this kid said, oh, what are you going to freaking do with that? And now I'm a man, I'm 17. Maybe he had something to prove. Maybe his adrenaline's running and he didn't think he was going to kill him. I mean, I don't know. But in those moments, I can't believe that somebody really had the intention to kill somebody, especially at that age. Now, like you said, though, it was a good thing you said. I was thinking in my head when you were saying it. What does his life look like outside of that track meet? Does he think he has to carry a knife? Did this kid threaten him outside of the school and say, I'm going to kill you when I see you? So he brought a knife defending himself. I mean, I don't know any of that. Like, that's all unknown. I've quit watching it because it's just when people can't communicate. It's you're this, you're that, everybody, you're this, you're that. And, so I just say, you know what? It does affect me, but it doesn't. I got to stop deep diving into it and reading people's comments and just wait till they put out the updates. But even the updates, you don't know if they're factual, not factual, if they're leaving something out for one or both parties. I mean, you don't know. It depends on what you're watching and who you're listening to. But in my head, I'm like, I don't believe he had that intent. I can't imagine. It's like, London 17. I can't imagine. I mean, he could be a jerk, but I cannot believe him ever wanting to take something and purposely. I can see him taking it to defend himself because sometimes he gets a little brunt of some things. Maybe in his mind, I'm not going to go there by myself and I'm going to, have something because I don't want to get jumped. But to purposely kill somebody, I don't see it. But what if you're in the moment? You don't even realize what you're doing.
Well, I'm telling you, when I was in the moment, I did not realize what I was doing. I was just so angry and pissed off. And the person said something to me that set me off because I felt like I had no power, that you're trying to take all of my power. And I was in a blind rage. I can't even tell you everything that I was doing in that moment. But I also feel like when stuff like that happens, we all feel like we have to take a side. Why do we have to pick a side?
Right. Because
it's wrong.
Wrong was wrong.
Somebody died and somebody could potentially go into jail for the rest of their life for something stupid. And they're young.
They're young. They both have accountability. Why'd you bring a knife? Why'd you run your mouth? Why'd you put your hands on him? Why did you feel you need to pull the, you know what I'm saying? They both have responsibility. So why is it, you're right. Why do we have to pick a side? Why can't we just say that's messed up? How do we do better? What could have been prevented? How do we educate? How do we, whatever? I don't even know, but it's just, and I feel like you just hear it all the time. I mean, it's just like every time you turn on TV or, I don't have public TV, but people are always saying, did you hear about this? Did you see that? I mean, it's just like, and it's gotten so normal. I feel like people are so desensitized to it.
But like you're saying, we get to see it all day, every day. That's one reason Ed says, I don't watch the news. Because everything on there is negative. And it's spent to
whichever channel you're on.
It's spent to garner to your audience so that your audience will feel the same way that your background for this station feels. And it's terrible.
I agree. It's just
terrible.
On social media, that the titles, they put these headlines and you click on it. It's really nothing about what they did, but it was clickbait. It got you to click and now they've got you. It's the same thing. But do you feel, let's say 95% of the time, if it involves two different races, that it immediately becomes a race?
Oh, absolutely. Because it helps to create or maintain the divide that says, I'm underprivileged and this group is privileged. Or look, we always get the bad rap because it involved this person, where in actuality, this situation is bad all the way around. I don't care which person is this race or which person is that race. Like, what the hell? And what are we teaching our children and our children's children as we continue this divide? It's not going to get any better. It's just going to make it worse. And so we're just pitting each other against each other to where we can't even come together to agree that this is horrible. Regardless of what happened, how it happened, this is horrible.
Yeah, I agree.
Horrible.
I agree. And then yesterday, there, you probably, because since you're not on it, you probably know, but there was another shooter at Florida State University, I think the main campus, not the public campus, the main campus. And it was a kid of a deputy, actually, and got a hold of one of her former weapons and went, and I don't know the numbers. I know at least 2 people, I think, were killed and multiple were injured. What is with that? Why?
But why? For why?
That's what I'm saying.
Why did she take the gun to the campus?
Well, it was a boy. I think I have not read anything on it yet. I read the head. Well, one of my best friend's daughters goes to FSU.
Oh, wow.
So I texted her and was like, is she okay? She's like, well, she wasn't on the main campus, but her roommate was, but she was in her car when they had them all locked down and leave.
Okay.
And so I saw the headline for it, that it was a kid of a deputy. It's a sheriff deputy that's active there. She had an old weapon at the house.
Yeah, does that matter? Why?
Well, they're setting her up to be that was bad. She didn't have her gun put up. But anyways, maybe it is. But I mean, Nick always has his guns put up. But No, he's 17. So he's 17. I think he's 17. Maybe he's older. I should look it up. I don't know. But he's older.
But he's an adult.
So he took the gun and he went to school and I think he killed, I want to say 2 and injured a few. But again, I don't know. And I haven't read his reasoning. But I'm like, what is that solving for anybody to take a weapon and go to a school? And then, of course, it turns into political, it turns into race, it turns into immigration, it turns into all this stuff. And it's like, it's just effed up. No matter what color, race, creed, male, female, nobody should take a weapon.
Nobody.
And that's no matter what we do. If we take guns away, people will find guns.
Yep.
If we give guns, people will find, you know what I mean? It's like, there is no, I don't know how you make it where people just understand. You don't take a gun and go shoot innocent people. And I don't know if it was a mental health thing. Again, I'm bringing it up without knowing the information, but it's just in my head, I'm like, this is not okay. Regardless, it's not okay. And it's not necessarily, I don't think, a political thing. I don't think it's necessarily a race thing.
Right.
I think it is and something is wrong. Like, how is this okay? Were there no warning signs? Was he not depressed? Did he, I mean, I don't know. How involved was this sheriff mother? I'm not blaming her, but how involved was she to see if her kid had any signs? Was he curious about guns? Did he have a bad experience? Like what? And again, there might be more details out. This happened, I think, yesterday. So I don't know, but it's kind of like, how are we going down that route? I literally said to somebody yesterday, I don't go out after dark if I don't have to.
I carry a knife everywhere I go because we sometimes meet people we don't damn know, or I have a very bad track record of, I'm going to videotape this house and I'm in the middle of damn nowhere
in an empty house,
ain't paying no attention to my surroundings or who might come in the damn door because I didn't lock it back and try to harm me. And I think about that all the time when I'm in the house, but shit, this is my job, so let me get on and do what I need to do. But I
don't go out. Like, if it's dark, I'm not going to the store. I'm not getting gas. I'm not leaving. And even now in my house, like, my brain is like, I need to make sure the door alarms are set, because what's stopping anybody from coming in and kicking in my front door? What's stopping them?
There isn't anything that's stopping them besides their own.
So I just need a warning and, to get out my window, whatever it's going to be.
You need a gun.
I mean, I do, but
you need a gun.
But then people will say, why would you have a gun?
Because I have a gun in my house because this is my own personal property. And if anybody comes into my own personal property, I have a right to defend myself. If I'm standing on the street and somebody bumps into me and I'm having a bad day and I didn't like it, I do not have a right to pull my gun out to shoot them.
Right.
That is absolutely wrong. And if I am that angry on that day that I have to do that, I need to check myself. Education for your kids and for yourself, and checking in on your own mental health. Like, what the hell is wrong with you that you so pissed off that you're going to go home and get a gun and then make a conscious decision, because these are all conscious decisions. I'm going to go back to the school with this gun.
Then I'm going to go back.
And I'm going to pull the trigger. There is nothing in this world that's serious that you need to go pull a trigger on something.
And somebody said, like, there were, of course, the comment of, like, people who get so caught up in these gaming games, they don't realize it's real. And I'm like, I'm sorry. That's very hard for me to believe that a grown person doesn't know it's real. I mean, that's not, I'm like, come on.
Come on. So if that young man was more than 17,
I'll have to look. I don't remember.
Your tail is responsible for your actions, and that mother, and I hate when people do that. We always try to blame
somebody,
the parent, or blame somebody else for it. No, that was a conscious decision that person made, and they should be held accountable.
Yeah, I agree. But that's like, like even driving now, I'm like, don't honk. Like, if somebody, don't honk, because you don't know, like, don't run your mouth. Like, it's like this paranoid thing of, you don't know if that person is going to get triggered. I mean, Nick one time was driving with the kids, and, Nick was driving, I think. And this guy was driving, you know how the military people are driving, and people are too close or too whatever, your brains go. So he's trying to get away from this guy, whatever. He didn't cut him off or anything. Well, eventually this guy, I think, thinks Nick's messing with him, and that's not Nick. Nick avoids that stuff. Well, the guy parks like 2 people back. It's at a red light, gets out of his car, comes up to Nick's window. Now Nick carries. So Nick is like hand on his hip. The kids are freaking out. The guy's tapping on the window, yelling at him. And it took so much restraint for Nick to like wait for that light to turn green, because he said, I just kept watching to make sure he wasn't going to pull something on me, because then I was going to pull something on him. But I'm like, seriously, over what? Over what? Driving on Owen Drive and irritating me?
You disrespected me.
It's
so that whole thing of
crazy.
disrespect is huge, I think, for a lot of people, not even young people, adults, it doesn't matter who, that if I feel disrespected, I have to do something to show you you're not going to disrespect me. You're not going to take my power. And I think that's crazy, because respect is something that you don't earn, you don't automatically get, and people can just be having a freaking bad day.
Okay, so this says Phoenix is 20 years old, was carrying a handgun that used to be, hold on, watch this, used to be the service weapon of sheriff deputy. Okay. A review of court records shows Phoenix, the shooter, had a tumultuous childhood with another woman identified in the documents as his biological mother, accused of removing him from the U.S. in violation of a custody agreement when he was 10 years old. So he had issues.
But he's 20.
But he's 20.
And why are we first off saying, before we can even get to what the hell happened? Oh, he's the son of a local sheriff deputy. What the who cares? He is 20 years old. He is accountable for his damn self.
So now, of course, it becomes political. He's a Republican, and he was quoted in January in FSU student newspaper article about anti-Trump protests in advance of the president's inauguration. These people are usually pretty entertaining, usually not for good reasons. Was described as a political science major. I think it's a little too late. Trump's already going to be inaugurated, and there's not really much you can do unless you outright revolt. And I don't think anyone wants that.
What's that matter?
I know. But why? What brings it back to coming back to the school and shooting someone? I mean, he has an associate. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what?
So we're spinning
He talked about the ravages of multiculturalism and communism and how it's ruining America.
So he was a little bit perturbed.
He had mental issues.
He was a little bit perturbed about
He had mental issues.
Right. But he's still 20.
Yeah.
And you cannot hold me responsible if my kid shoots and kills somebody. Please don't bring that back on me. I did the best that I could as a parent.
And it sounds like she's not even his biological parent.
No, she's not his biological parent.
Yeah.
So she's trying to save this young man from himself, give him a better life. Why the hell are we blaming her? Why the hell are we blaming her? Okay, if it was a teenager who went to a high school and shot up somebody's high school and got to a gun that was in the house that wasn't locked up, okay, maybe we have some recourse to say to parents, y'all suck.
Right.
But this dude is a whole grown-ass man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying, like,
oh my God.
And then it's funny because what he did was wrong is wrong. And obviously he has some mental things, but of course it becomes political or it becomes racial or it's like, no, it's just wrong. He obviously.
What does Trump have to do with anything? What? He likes Trump. So freaking what? You killed people. That's freaking wrong.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with who you like as a president or a political person. It's just freaking wrong.
Yeah.
You took somebody's life and you need to be held accountable for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't watched the news and maybe it's good.
Well, that's why I try to that's why I don't have cable. I mean, I just stream TV, like Netflix, Hulu or whatever. But when you get on Facebook, sometimes you can't hide from it because everybody's posting it and you're just like, and I literally was telling Nick today, like, you got to tell Lennon to stop running his mouth.
And that's also very crazy that because of this, you now have to retrain your children, retrain yourself that, okay,
I talk junk.
I got to learn, like Jesus said, to turn the other cheek, walk my ass away because I don't want to have the potential of you pissing me off to the point of no return and I do something that I will regret for the rest of my life.
Or you entice somebody to do something they're going to regret for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So there's always something to talk about. So today, even though we didn't have a topic, I feel like we got to a topic.
And you like blindside, like bash me up.
I thought for sure you knew about that.
No, ma'am.
Yeah.
No, ma'am. And I think I'm kind of glad I didn't.
Yeah, it's sad.
Well,
yeah, it's sad.
I definitely wouldn't post on social media about it because.
Oh, yeah.
My views and other people's views, you take it with a grain of salt. So I wish there wasn't the division or that we make excuses because it's this or because it's that. like you said, it's
See,
just
and I
wrong.
struggle because there's a lot of Democratic things that I agree with, and there's a lot of Republican
Yeah.
things. I am a mix. And I think like for people, I really do believe they just stick to a thing and say that it has to be that. It's always been, my family's always done, I'm going to do this. Instead of like, well, do you even agree with all of that? Or do you agree with some of that and some of that? And let's think about what works best for you as an individual. So if
Yep.
I don't agree with you, but it works best for you, I
Yep.
should not disown you as my friend
No,
because you have a different view than me.
absolutely.
But it just turns into A or B. There is no gray.
Gray area. There's
Yeah.
always gray area. Like you said, you told me this story. I have no idea who is who, but the conclusion that I have come to is that shit was wrong as hell what these two teenagers did. I don't care who was what color. I don't care what side you're on. That is wrong. And two lives have been changed forever because we can't control our emotions. And I think it comes down to controlling your emotions and being able to agree to disagree. Just because you don't believe the way I believe doesn't mean you're a horrible, terrible person and you should die on the stake.
Right.
Why?
Or like that's the other thing too is like people will say, well, if you're not this, you're a racist or you're this or you're just a lover. You don't think anybody needs anything and you don't want to have any boundaries and you don't want to. But like, why are we grouping people as like a whole when you don't? Most people don't, especially online. They don't even know each other.
They do not.
And they're just like, you're this or you're that. And you're like, you don't even know this person or what they do or what they're involved
But
in.
even in your own culture, like if I say I'm this in my culture, like I don't like macaroni and cheese. Everybody's like, oh, Tiffany, you're not black. What the fuck? I just don't like macaroni and cheese. I'm lactose intolerant. So I don't want to sit in the bathroom for an hour after I freaking eat it. So I don't like it. But that doesn't mean I'm not black. That doesn't mean I don't, cultural things that I
carry on otherwise.
I mean, I love Asian food, but that don't make me damn Asian.
Right.
So yeah, it's crazy. And unfortunately, this is the world that we live in.
Yeah. But I think that's like what we said a couple episodes ago is your relationships matter.
Yeah.
I could easily judge the guy across the street because I don't know anything about him. So I could base off of what's on his car, or what's on his front door. But if I knew him, it would probably make a difference of my opinion of him.
Yeah.
If I knew I could go over there and ask for help and he'd do it, or if I had a flat tire, he'd change it, or, whatever, I'd probably change my whole opinion of him just because of the stupid flag in the yard. I wouldn't you know what I mean?
You wouldn't judge him.
I wouldn't, I'd be like, okay, that's your thought. I don't agree, but can you help me change my tire? Yeah. Oh, can you, I don't have any food. Give me food. Sure.
We lost that in the whole, we don't know our neighbors. We don't have conversations. We don't talk to people. We don't get to know people. We just judge them based on what we see on stupid social media that they post every now and then or whatever they're posting every day. And we don't try to understand. And I don't know how we get back to that.
I don't know either.
I don't know if we'll ever get back to that unless we just get rid of cell phones.
Yeah, right. People die.
Cell phones and computers that have to go back to the 1920s and 30s.
Yeah, I was with my client the other day talking about the phone, and they were talking about you used to have the long cord, so you can walk to another room, or
hide in the closet.
But you got to talk around your family. Mm-hmm. So everybody knew what was going on in your life. There was no secret. And I'm like, it's so funny how different, because now everything's secretive. You can't look at my phone. You can't, my social media, my disappearing texts, everything's, when before you'd have to stand in the kitchen and talk in front of your mom or your siblings, okay, I'll call you later when they're all asleep. I
think those are the good old days.
But I have to be honest. I don't go out of my way to talk to my neighbors. I mean,
I do.
I wave, I say hi, but I don't go conversate. Now, the one neighbor I do, because we see each other, because there's no fence really. But everybody else around me, I
know all of their names.
I'm like,
I know their babies' names and everything. That is weird.
No, I don't know his name, but he's super nice now. But we only wave and say hi. It's 3-word sentences. I've never gone over and spoke, and he's never come over here and spoke.
This the first community I ever been in that I got a cake. I done got 2 or 3 cakes from my neighbor.
When you moved in?
Yeah. When I moved in, she brought me a cake. I know her name. And then for my birthday in February, she brought me a cake. She is so sweet.
That is nice.
Yeah, I have a couple next to me, and then, Mr. Joe, and then a family across the street, and then Miss Diane and Mr. Mark at the corner. And I give them Christmas gifts. If I know they're having a birthday, I'll take them a birthday present. I'm thinking about having a pool party this summer and inviting them, just the neighbors, to come over. And Megan is like, girl, but I'm not doing that. Also thinking
But it
that
might be where I live. That's it. It might be where I live.
But you don't want to invite the neighbors and they casing your house to be like, I'm coming back in a couple days when I see her car is not there. But
where I live.
I don't know.
But then sometimes I'm like, it's nice just to be like, hey, hi, and not like, I have to go talk to them. And oh, I'm outside. I need to go conversate. And like at least it's friendly enough that if I needed sugar, I could go knock on the door. But people don't even do that anymore. I feel like they DoorDash.
Yeah, well, yeah, they
They would
probably
go knock on the
do.
door. Like I
They
feel like if I needed an egg, I don't think I'd ask any. And they have chickens. I don't think I'd ask
No,
them.
I don't
I
think
would
I would
DoorDash.
ask them anything, but I also feel like that comes from, you are in the military or you are a military family. And so that whole, if you're away from your family
have
and
to
you
count
don't
on it.
know anybody,
Yeah.
especially you're overseas, you're going to be like, I need to know these people because if I
Yeah.
need help, that's who I'm going to have to go
When
to.
I was younger, I lived on a cul-de-sac, and those women were my life.
Yeah.
They helped me raise my child.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I would have been very lonely without them. But now I'm like,
So we lost that.
yeah, we
Lost
did.
that with social media.
Because I have no desire. Now, I will say there was a guy down the street when I was walking the dog through the field, and came out to a flat tire. I did say, "Do you need like a jack or
Yeah.
anything?" And he looked at
Didn't
me,
even do that anymore.
but he looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
And was like, "No."
Yeah. Okay. Because I don't know.
Trying to be friendly.
I don't know what you're going to do to me. I don't know what you're going to do.
I was like, okay. Like, because you could tell he was like very upset that his car had a flat tire. But, I was at the other end. So they probably were like, yeah.
Well, guys,
Very interesting episode.
woo. I was not prepared for this conversation, but hopefully you all are having this conversation in your family. And so what do you do to retrain your family members, whether it's your children, your cousins, your aunts and uncles, that, okay, if you're pissed off, you might just want to walk away.
Yeah.
You might just want to walk away because it could go really far left. What discussions are you having with them? Tell us in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share, like, and join us on Facebook and Instagram. And until next time, bye, guys.
Bye.